The castle of Rivia now loomed before the Lyrians. Water surrounded it on 3 sides, and dual defensive walls studded with podgy turrets completed its perimeter. It was famously difficult to take, and had changed hands only once. A few months before, foreign banners waved upon the walls. The Golden Sun and General Epdahi's crest on Rivia's walls. The walls of home. There was somber silence among the troops, the glee and pride of many triumphs suddenly gone. For each knew if the Queen ordered an assault, most would lie dead by sunrise.
Your Majesty,
Began Reynard in a reassuring tone.
we needn't strike quickly. We've time on our side. To prepare would be wise. 2 months, I wager. Perfectly enough. We stop supplies from getting through. They'll capitulate, I've little doubt. Or at worst, be too weak to defend the fortress.
These invaders have grown fond of Rivia Castle,
Said Meave.
so let them stay and rot. Reynard, erect road barricades and guard posts between city and citadel. Gascon, seize all boats, barges, anything that floats. Stop anything from entering from the lake.
Then, an emissary from the castle brought a message for the Queen. General Epdahi wished to meet, face to face, and half the way between the citadel and the Lyrian camp.
Well, well, some general.
Smirked Gascon.
We've barely snapped the trap shut, yet he's already shaking in his knickers.
Meave proceeded to the meeting point without delay. A lone rider soon appeared on the horizon. He came adorned in rich black robes, their golden trim shimmering in stray sunbeams. She'd seen him before, in Edirn, through the megascope.
You came as I requested. Good. Very good.
I couldn't possibly refuse such a courteous invitation, especially as compared to your previous missive. The art of diplomacy, you've improved your grasp.
Your realm fell quickly. I expended little strength in seizing it. This left me much time to study. But please, we must set aside this bitterness. I'd like to formally welcome you to Rivia, dear Queen.
I see you've readily adopted the role of gracious host in my home.
In point of fact, I've grown fond of the castle. Fortifications impressive, atypical of the north. Not so your brave soldiers, whom we shall pick off like ducks.
Dry your eyes, General. Rest easy. I've no plans for a quick assault. I shall first wait to hear the rumbling in your bellies.
Remarkable. You truly believe you can win this war? I've not been in the north long, but have discovered something all the same. You don't grasp complex ideas. You know Nilfgaard is large, but your minds don't fathom its enormity. You see, for every army you defeat, another will come to take its place. One larger and better equipped than the one before. Even now, as we so pleasantly chat, Army Group East is en route to lift your siege, due to arrive tomorrow. And do you know what will happen when they do? They will crush you against your own castle's walls, like the maddening flea you are.
Plough yourself, Nilfgaardian scum.
Charming. Is that all you wish to say?
I prefer action to words. You'll see for yourself tomorrow.
Unlikely. In fact, I doubt you'll reach the walls at all.
Pray that I don't. For if I find you midst the fray, I shall strangle you with my bare hands.
Without awaiting a response from General Epdahi, Meave pivoted and turned toward camp.
The good book states the just always prevail, with no cope.
And I thought Rosberg had strong walls.
As a rule, human fortifications aren't worth a pound of
Gonna be one hell of a night! Ah! Ah! Ah!
Meave's closest advisors already awaited her in the command tent. In a few brief words, the Queen gave a report of the meeting, only with great effort masking the quavering in her voice.
An army, an immense one, approaches from the west. If we meet in open battle, we stand not a chance.
Damn it! Why did no one warn me?
Our scouts were discovered, captured.
We must flee? Not at all heroic, I admit. But sure as hell better than being trampled into the dirt.
Easily said, but for a problem. Our force is chiefly infantry. The army that draws near includes cavalry, several regiments. We cannot hope to escape them. We cannot hope to hide.
What do you advise?
We've two options. Capitulate,
Out of the question.
or take the castle. Tonight.
Suppose for a moment it's possible. Tell me how and at what cost. I know we're at war and many die. But to command our troops to take that citadel is to condemn them to certain death.
Rivia's walls are unassailable. I fully agree. But there's more than one way to take any fort.
I think I like where this is going.
I know this citadel like no one else. I know its one potential weakness. The boat landing.
Wait. That narrowest of piers between the two turrets? The one where the fishermen would land?
The same. As I'm sure you recall, Your Grace, at that narrow pier's end stands a narrow door leading straight into the fortress. A small detachment could approach unnoticed, overwhelm any sentries, and get inside.
What then?
They would need to pass through the fort to the winch in the guardhouse. Open the gate for the rest of the force.
Reynard, I'll be honest. It sounds right mad.
Perhaps. But as options go, we have it alone.
And I'm to choose to send folk there? Most certainly to die.
You needn't choose anyone, for I volunteer. And will take only those willing to do the very same.
Bloody wretched plan.
And you've a better one, do you?
Of course. I'll go instead.
Beg your pardon? I don't.
Face it, Reynard, you couldn't sneak past a corpse. Sound like a bloody tambourine in that armour. Apart from which, you're Maeve's right hand. So you ought to be by her side when the fighting starts.
Firstly, Reynard, I'm grateful.
Thank you, Your Grace.
But truth be told, I did indeed hear you walking to the tent from the other side of camp. And yes, you know Rivia Castle better than anyone else. But the assault must transpire silently. Gascon will lead the force.
Understood, Your Grace.
Cheers, Maeve. I'll try not to disappoint.
You won't, I'm sure. God speed you on your way, and please, try your damnedest not to die.
Gascon hand-picked his men, those most adept with daggers, not swords. Maeve watched anxiously as the boats glided away, her heart pounding in her ears. All depended on this mission. The fate of her realms, perhaps all the North, the lives of her troops, and her own. Now there was naught she could do but wait.
Good luck.
The Lyrians prepared for battle, their silence absolute, in darkness, illuminated only by the pale light of the moon. Maeve was restless. She paced nervously in a circular pattern. Finally, a torch's faint glow appeared atop the towering walls. It disappeared, then glowed again, and one more time around. Maeve leapt in the air, and as she did so, barely stifled a cry of utter joy.
They made it. It worked.
Moments later, Lyrians in the hundreds burst from the trees. The Nilfgaardian defenders loaded their catapults and ballistae. They did so slowly, convinced the castle walls remained impenetrable. Then they heard chains, grinding and clinking, and the sound sent shivers down their spines. Bewildered, they watched the main gate rise as the attacking force rushed forth. General Epdahi dispatched an elite unit to take back the winch at once. Yet he saw this was in vain and all was lost when Maeve rode into the castle courtyard. Maeve had begun the day known as a great warrior. Yet by night's end, legend was the cloak she wore. Her shield stopped powerful blow after blow as her blade found gaps in her foe's black armor. At first, Nilfgaardians scoured the fray in search of the Queen, hoping to prove great heroes. Soon, she was their chief scourge, and they began to flee before her blade that sung their death.
Retreat! Retreat!
What was this extraordinary vigor that surged through Meve? Naturally, she wished to liberate her castle and realm, drive off the invaders, defeat the arrogant General Ebdahi. But in that moment, above all else, she longed to fight her way through to the guardhouse and bring Gascon's party relief.
Follow me! Move! Move!
Meve had expected the worst. A bloodbath, piles of corpses. Yet all in the guardhouse was eerily quiet and calm. The door to the winch room lay shattered, true, but this was the one sign there'd been any sort of struggle. What happened here? She thought. Cautiously, she entered, looking, searching for any trace of Gascon and his fighters. Instead, she spotted Willem, curled up in a corner, clutching his bloodied belly, his fingers not enough to stop all the holes. Meve tore off her cloak and went to stem the bleeding.
Willem, what happened here?
My wrongs. I sought to right them.
Wheezed the prince.
Please, forgive me.
Gascon pushed his way through the other foot soldiers. He knelt beside the queen and whispered what had happened. His unit had not managed to reach the gate in time, but Willem had. Upon seeing Lyrian forces converging on the fort, the prince had rushed to the guardhouse and opened the gate himself. By the time Nilfgaardians closed it again, it was too late. The Lyrians were through. The queen rose, her fists clenched, her shoulders rigid, her knuckles white. Her face betrayed no sorrow, no despair, just rage, hot as a forge, immeasurable.
Now's not the time to mourn.
Seethed Meve, struggling to stay calm.
Now's the time for war, for slaughter, revenge. With victory today, we'll recover our home, return to our kin and set our blades aside at last. Yet until victory is ours, they must drink.
The Lyrians were at the brink, near their breaking point. They'd followed Meve for thousands of miles, over snow-clad peaks, through forbidding swamps. They'd fought, survived countless battles at her side. And though their gazes were now weary, she knew they'd follow her into fire.
Your Grace, the Blackclads, they've holed themselves up in the upper keep. We went to breach the wall, alas to no avail.
Meve nodded, twirled her sword, then leapt upon a mount. Her eyes spoke pure determination.
So we'll bloody well try again. This is the end, Ebdahi. Do you hear me? I shall stick your head on a pike!
I must thank you.
In retreat!
Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Enough! I do not need to hear this.
Go, pop, pop. how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Surrounded by fools!
Company! Forward march!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Wanna know why I'm got my scar?
We got a job to do.
I smell a leak.
Archers, let it be night. Got a death wish?
To the front yet again.
You mad? Don't shake that!
The shank. Order will triumph. It must triumph.
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
That was not in the spell books.
Anger and suffering. For what?
Now, how did that incantation go? highly curious case.
Where is he? Tell me where!
Nilfgaard had the upper hand, yet the black-clad spirits had suffered. They now made more use of shields than of swords. When Meve finally broke through their line, they raised their arms in surrender. Rivia Castle had fallen. It was hers once more. Alas, the general had disappeared. A prisoner revealed Epdahi had fled as soon as the Lyrians had surged towards the upper keep. He had glided down to the lower castle in a wicker basket for transporting food. Meve cursed her luck and leaned back against a merlin. Dawn was yet a few hours off, but the horizon had already begun to glow blood red. The Nilfgaardian reserves now drew near, too late to prevent the castle's fall.
I'll get him.
Muttered the queen, more to herself than anyone else.
I swear on all that's sacred, I'll catch the bastard.
That night, the war turned, with the battle for Rivia Castle as its fulcrum. Meve's great victory, not only retaking the stronghold in a single evening, but also fending off a further invading army, proved the Nilfgaardian Colossus had feet of clay. The armies of the north had united and now seemed to be on the attack everywhere. Imperial forces, while still far more numerous, lay stretched over thousands of miles. Their position was untenable, and Nilfgaard's commanders knew this. In a decisive battle, they yet stood a chance, so they gave said battle, and suffered a resounding defeat. Just a few months on from that memorable night in Rivia, the Imperial army was in utter disarray. Aldersburg, the fortress, remained a last point of resistance. General Epdahi and what had survived of Army Group East had dug in there. This place, where Nilfgaard had triumphed grandly in the war's early days, would now bear witness to its impending defeat. It seems history, after all, has a sense of justice, or humor, or both. Though Meve had already reclaimed her realm, she refused to retire her sword just yet. For King Demavend had requested her aid in purging Edirn of the invader. How could she refuse? She owed the king a favor, firstly. Yet she also had a burning desire to settle the score with Epdahi.
Demavend's envoy and I spoke, Your Majesty. The king has Aldersburg surrounded. He awaits and won't begin the assault till you arrive.
Good. I truly hate to miss it.
Of course, Your Grace.
Yes? Is there something else?
Pardon my boldness, Your Grace, but I can't help but be concerned. You don't sleep. You've the air of illness about you.
Reynard, I just buried my son, who died in my arms, goddammit.
Yes. Died a hero, Your Majesty. I wasn't sure Willem could ever wash away the shame. He'd betrayed his country, his mother, aligned with the fiercest of our foes. But his actions in Rivia washed away his wrongs. Willem showed himself worthy to be called your son. I don't say any of this to deepen your grief, Your Majesty.
You're right. I thank you, Reynard. That I needed to hear. We've talked enough. We must march on to Aldersburg.
Your Grace, if I may. Some of our comrades in arms would like a word with you. The war nears its end. Paths are likely to diverge.
I see. Thank you. I shall stop by the mess tent later.
I'm pleased to see you again, Mom.
The war's near its end. The future, what does it hold for you, Isbel? Wise counsel will always find a place at my court.
A tempting offer, Mom. So be it. I shall stay. But I've one condition. You're never to force me to wear shoes.
Ha! These terms I can agree to. Duty calls.
Of course.
Yes, Your Grace?
The war nears its end. What next for Reynard Odo?
Whatever you command, Your Grace.
Ugh.
Is something amiss, my lady?
To be perfectly blunt, I've no wish to give you orders anymore.
Your Grace? Would you wish me to leave?
No, Reynard. I'd wish you to stay. But I'd no longer wish to be your queen alone.
I do.
It's time I attended to other matters.
Your Grace?
The war nears its end.
Alas, I cannot, as you know, Your Majesty. Having taken an oath, to it I must remain devoted.
Could take some time, this ridding the whole world of monsters.
Yes, but 'tis not a task for one man and his life. 'Tis a task for generations of noble knights. I have but begun this endeavor.
Have you found any successes yet?
Truth be told, no. A life of poverty lived by the strictures of the good book attracts few. But, God's willing, I shall yet find one worthy to carry my sword and continue along my path.
I sincerely wish you do, Sir Ake. Farewell, Ake.
Hey ho, how's my favourite queen in the north?
Listen, I'd wish to speak again of...
Wait, I know what of, and you know it's a topic I'd rather not dwell on.
It won't help to let those thoughts fester.
And what would help? Barring a magical leap into the past, of course. Maeve. Believe me, I've shed tears enough for my family. I've no need to think of it. No need to speak of it. And certainly not with you.
So, what awaits you now?
Been contemplating it of late. Thought I might go back to the life of an outlaw. Not that I'd expect you to approve.
You're quite right, I wouldn't. It's why I wish to make certain you'll not feel tempted. Gascon, I hereby bestow upon you a number of estates near Scala.
What? Maeve? Damn it, I don't know what to say.
Ha!
Thank you, Maeve. 1,000 thanks.
'Tis I who should thank you. It's time I attend...
Huh? What is it now?
The war nears its end.
Sadly,
Sadly, why?
I survived. Again, rebuild your land, Queen. Enjoy your life. Me and my men, we'll be moving on.
Arnulf, in Lyria and Rivia, your past matters not. Nor does your shame. Stay.
What about after? What do I tell my ancestors when the time comes? I yearn to sit at their table, lass, and drink mead in their company.
So long, Arnulf.
Always good to see the Queen.
Our conversation in Mahakam, do you recall it? When you resolved to join my force?
Of course. Clear as day, that. You saved me and my clan. I'm in your debt.
Well, we've won the war, and you had a hand in the victory, heavily so. As I see it, you've more than repaid your debt.
Feeling a wee bit choked up, as King Desmond said when an assassin's bolt ran clear through his esophagus. Come here and give us a squeeze.
Later, perhaps.
Ha! I wasn't expecting to have this chat, so I'm a bit caught with my knickers.
War's over, but we've much left to do. Our relations with non-humans, for instance. I mean to improve them. And I think you could help, Gabor.
Meaning, you'd like me to stay in your court?
We shall return to this conversation later.
No skin off my back.
Yes? War's nearly over. What will you do? Where will you go?
The war against Nilfgaard, perhaps. But others drag on.
What do you mean?
Scoia'tael survivors still hide in the forests.
Yes, but I've heard they retreat to the east. Simply let them go. Let them leave our lands. Why ever not?
To see them return even stronger? No. We must slit their throats, one and all. Now. Crush them like worms beneath our boots.
Rayla, at some point one must admit there's been pain enough.
I shall do so in my grave.
I must go. Noctis Meve!
The Lyrian army had grown into a great serpent. Suddenly, Meve heard angry cries and the...
Surround them!
New orders? No? Ah. Must be an important lesson in this. But what? Hundred and one, 102, 103.
Also then, no other way.
Hundred and 52, 154.
Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest, reaping black-clad hens.
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
Wanna know why I got my scar? Off to the front yet again.
Mercy!
Normally disciplined, determined to an extreme, these Nilfgaardians quickly broke rank and ran.
Deserters! Leaderless, Your Grace.
A scout reported.
Headed south, they was, towards the frontier.
Chained prisoners now sat along the dusty road. Meve stopped in front of one. He was ragged and
I know you take us for savages,
began Meve, her gaze passing over several scraggy black-clads.
but fear not. We shan't flay you alive nor eat you for dinner. And when a truce is signed, you'll be sent home, where I most sincerely hope you'll stay this time.
As the Queen mounted her horse, she barely concealed a grimace.
Was in Aldersburg when it fell. Broke my heart, that did, but not complete.
The good mothers guided you to...
Meve was listening to a scout's report when screams suddenly
Blasted all.
seized the queen, looking at the bloodied corpses. Those responsible for the deed, peasants from the quarry at Ravencloft, Meve had welcomed into her ranks. The harm they'd endured from Nilfgaardians wielding whips, this was what had festered in their hearts and minds. The Rivians couldn't accept that their oppressors had gone unpunished. It had been justice by a mob, and Meve knew it should not go unpunished. Yet at the last, ignoring her advisor's counsel, she left the former slaves' fate for their commanders to decide. For the queen had grown weary of Meve noticed one of her scouts, Corporal Larkin, saluted.
I told you it'll never end.
Special prize. Just for you, love.
Blood washes away all shame!
Death to humans!
You mad? Don't say that!
Nay, Duan camest. Let us sing the song of steel!
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die.
Everything all right?
None shall tread on us! Now we will see who is weak!
It's not too late to walk away.
Oh, Mom.
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
Renna! Stop! We surrender!
The Scoia'tael fighters stood no chance against Meve. When the
Youthful you look, elf.
27, my lady.
27. A wonderful age.
I beg you, Renna. For mercy, I ask.
Mercy? You jest.
It was no ambush.
Don't play me for a fool.
It's not you we wished to fight. Sverre.
Then who killed Corporal Larkin?
When we saw you on the high road, we fell back and hid in the wood. We wanted you to pass. Your scout's hearing very keen.
He heard something, then spotted our tracks.
You know you might have surrendered.
Like Dristan's commando. Is that what you mean? They laid down their arms before an Edirnian general. If we're to die, we prefer to die bows and swords in hand.
Why are you here?
Rescue someone. The Nilfgaardians have realized they'll lose the war and have renounced us. Demavend has loosed his hounds. They hunt our units one by one. He's offered 50 gold pieces for the head of each Scoia'tael. We wish to join with your Veth's unit.
Why do you tell me all this?
Because you listen still. You've not ordered me killed.
Elves often speak beautiful words. But it's for their deeds you must judge them, Your Grace.
I beg you. So few of us remain.
Enough senseless killing for one day.
I don't know how to thank you.
Make certain I don't ever regret this decision.
Your Majesty, they attacked us, came at us unprovoked.
Truly, Rayla. Unprovoked. Because it seems to me, we've provoked them for years.
I thank you for your compassion.
Meve personally unfastened the prisoner's chains as her Lyrians looked on in silence. They did not approve this.
Side, Majesty.
The Lyrian corps neared Aldersburg. It could not have been on a more idyllic day. As on that day, Aldersburg was under siege. Yet this time, Eden's flags fluttered in the field.
Aha! There she is!
Mockery I don't appreciate.
I wouldn't dare. Not my words, those. You've been painted thus in song. Master Dandelion himself wrote a ballad. The Battle for the Bridge.
Is that jealousy I hear?
To be perfectly honest, Meve, it is. For I hadn't the pluck, nor resolve. And when all the North tucked tail, went to shite, you alone stepped up and bared your fangs.
A lesson for the future?
My dear, this war won't change a bloody thing, you know. Nilfgaard will be Nilfgaard, the North. We'll sign a truce. The Blackclads will turn tail towards home. But the old borders don't satisfy a soul.
I'm perfectly satisfied with them, thank you. And I just wish other folk would respect them too.
You're one hell of a warrior, but you're no strategist at all. Your perspective, you've got to broaden it. Nilfgaard, we cannot allow it to regain strength and spirit, else we'll face another invasion within a decade or two. Measures are required. Preventive, preemptive, whatever the learned call it. Build an army, a vast one. Wait in ambush.
Enough. I don't wish to hear it. I'll help you take Aldersburg, but then I'll go home.
As you wish. We can mount the assault at any time, but...
But?
My scouts report a small Nilfgaardian force approaching from the south. They've stayed off the roads, moved only under the cover of night.
Who?
I've no notion. Could be a mage. Devilishly unpredictable, that lot. Could wreak havoc in our ranks.
I shall see to it.
Are you sure? You've just arrived.
An understatement if I ever heard one. But I wish all this to be over, quickly.
Neve set out after the Nilfgaardians immediately, a cavalry escort in tow.
The common tongue. Which of you knows it?
I do, Your Majesty.
You also know who you deal with, I see. What is your name?
Kaldvin, Your Majesty.
At last. A Nilfgaardian name I can pronounce. So, Kaldwin. It seems this war will reach its end in 2 days' time at the most. 'Twould be silly to die today, wouldn't you agree?
It would, milady.
Precisely. I've spilled enough blood. I've lost the appetite for more. So, provided you don't give me a good reason to kill you, you'll walk away with your lives. Now tell me. You carry something for General Ebdahi. What is it?
A letter.
Urgent to the point of insanity, it must be. Who wrote it? The dear Madame Dahi?
No, Your Majesty. The Emperor.
My. A letter from Emir himself. You must be an important person. A noble, or...
A simple messenger, Your Majesty.
Don't lie. I know messengers, how they travel. Alone, armorless, atop a swift steed.
For I often carry orders the recipients don't wish to perform, thus the escort.
Give me the letter.
I've sworn to deliver it to General Ebdahi, or to die in the quest to do so.
Oh, very well. My translator shall read this letter, then return it to you. You shall break no vow, and who knows? You might even survive.
And if I refuse?
Guess.
So be it. I accept your offer.
Meave's translator cracked the seal and read. And as he read, his eyes grew wide as saucers.
Truly. And you're certain you're not mistaken. The wonders of this world. Coldwyn, consider this your lucky day. I allow you to complete your mission, with one proviso.
And that is?
That when you hand him the letter, you will give the General my regards.
As Coldwyn and escort set off towards Aldersburg, the Lyrian soldiers looked at their queen with disbelief. To leave a Nilfgaardian to fulfill a secretive task. Meave failed to stifle a rather mean laugh. They'll understand tomorrow, she thought. General Ebdahi had prefaced Lyria's and Rivia's invasion with a series of arrogant demands. The Nilfgaardian had been impudent, as he had felt sure he'd achieve a quick and decisive victory. Yet several months on, he too received an ultimatum. One signed by Emperor Emir var Emreis himself. The missive was concise and left no room for interpretation. With General Ebdahi dead, the Nilfgaardian army descended into chaos. The kings of the north, united, took advantage and struck at the foe. Their victory was complete. The Nordling forces cheered their commanders and monarchs, but for none so vehemently as the one queen among them. Many dream of achieving the impossible. Meave had done it. Through wit, determination, and boldness, she had thwarted the Nilfgaardian invasion. The queen would rule for many more years. Stern, yet ever just.
Ah! So a lass saved the North from the Blackclads?
That is one way to put it.
Well, I'll be damned. And a chap. She find herself one in the end?
Leave it be. Bloke's been spinning the tale all night. Story's done. Time we got some shut-eye.
Yes. Particularly as we've yet a long road before us.
Phew. Throat must be parched as old leather after all that. Except, I'm itching to know what happened to the lot of them. Reynard, Gascon.
Ah, very well. Whom shall we start with? Willem? A pawn, a tool in others' hands. Most, if not all, had seen him thus. Yet in the end, he proved his worth soundly. Though he'd started the war a traitor, he perished in the fray, a hero, and would be remembered as such. Having settled in Rivia, Gascon embarked on a life worthy of his noble origins. In doublet and ruff, he looked to his ample fields and livestock in daytime, attended banquets and feasts come the eve. And then one night, he grabbed his bow and quiver, saddled his favorite mount, and disappeared without a trace. As news of the Nordling victory filtered south, Nilfgaard's inhabitants greeted it with disbelief. Returning Imperial soldiers told stories of Lyria's cruel queen, who murdered prisoners and sullied sacred laws. They referred to her as Gvaeldet, the bloodthirsty one. With the advent of peace, tensions waned. Lyria's and Rivia's disparate races seemed to live harmoniously, side by side. The Queen pressed for new laws aimed at curbing oppression. They were a step towards more enlightened rule, yet sadly were habitually broken. And Meave? As I said, she ruled with an iron hand, not fist. Reynard ever at her side, tempering, supportive. No longer a general and trusted advisor, he had to the Queen become something more. Much, much more. And now, if you'd allow me...
Course. Leave him be, lads. Let him get some rest. Till the time comes for the next tale.